Hey everyone, and thank you for joining today's session. So, on our last episode, we spoke about the benefits of a SOC, especially for the MSP and SMB industry. I want to take a different approach today. I would like to speak more about the cybersecurity frameworks, the frameworks out there. And a lot of people actually steer away from that conversation because they believe it's too technical. But I'm here to show you that it's not that technical, especially when you break it down to the certain layers. So that's why I'm going to talk about the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 and discuss the different layers that consists within the NIST Cybersecurity Framework and help you understand how this particular framework is going to help you manage your cybersecurity risk and show you what does good cybersecurity look like. So I'm really excited you're here in today's session, and let's get straight into it. So let's be honest, cybersecurity isn't the easiest thing, right? There are so many moving parts, and sometimes it's difficult to know if you have all the basics covered. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say there's only one framework that everyone should be using. No. But what I am going to do is introduce you to the framework that was created by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as the NIST, who have created a cybersecurity framework that will give you a great idea if you have covered the right things or not. Now, NIST 2.0 was only released back in February, with the first release of the NIST back in 2014, designed to help organizations understand, manage, and reduce risk. I will help break down the different layers and the newest layer, which is the governance layer. Now, this framework will help you build your cybersecurity program. My job today is to help you understand what is within the NIST cybersecurity framework and break it down that even someone who isn't technical can understand and have the confidence after this session to have the conversation about this subject. So let's go over what does good cybersecurity look like. The NIST cybersecurity framework helps businesses really of all sizes better understand, manage and reduce their cybersecurity risk and protect their networks, employees and data. Now, a company that is mature with cybersecurity would be aligning to a cybersecurity framework, and there are a few. But the one I really do enjoy breaking down is the NIST. So the six domains: identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, and governance. We are going to go through each and one of these in a little bit more detail. So I'm going to start here with a question. How can you protect something you don't know? Let that sink in. And that's why identify is such a crucial part, and it's the start for a reason. So we're going to identify assets that need to be protected. People, data, intellectual property, hardware, software, the list goes on. What sorts of technologies can help with this layer? One of them will be a risk assessment, vulnerability management. This is going to help with identifying those risks. The attack surface management and vulnerability analysis. Now, we need to identify the areas that a bad actor can try and gain access through, those open ports, so we can look into closing them. So after we identify, we're going to need to protect. Okay, so we've identified our risk. We've identified what is worth protecting. So now what? Implementing further tools, processes, training. What training? Security awareness training. Further tools such as, let's say, your EDR, your MDR technologies, your encryption, MFA, access management. Think of your backup solutions, right? The data that could be compromised, so perhaps we need to take a backup. Now, continuous monitoring, analysis. I need to be able to detect anything that could be an indicator of compromise, which is why detect is so important, okay? Anything suspicious, not just from the endpoint level, but also from the network level as well. I need threat intelligence feeds like the ConnectWise Cyber Research Unit to keep not only my systems up to date to detect the latest threats, but to keep me updated as a security manager as well. So think of technologies such as a SIEM, Security Information and Event Management. We discussed this briefly on our last episode with Danielle. Think of again the EDR, the MDR technologies, as well as these services. So I may need a SOC team for that monitoring 24/7, investigating into the correlation, joining the dots together to understand further what does this particular event actually mean. And when we move into the respond stage, so after we detected a threat within our security information and event management, now what? We need to collect as much information as we can with this incident, understand the issues, what is it, who can respond to it, what tools do I have? I need to analyze this further. I need to make sure that I have all the facts. I need to manage the incident. Now, do I have an EDR? Hey, Maybe I don't need to worry about this. I may have an MDR where a SOC will be managing this for me. And it's also important to understand what you can use within your utility belt. How are you going to respond? Are you going to isolate the user? Are you going to go ahead and, let's say, quarantine a file? Okay. Are you going to remediate? There's so many elements of a respond stage. Now, when we talk about recover, really, in the protection stage, we spoke briefly about the backup solutions, right? So, this is the layer where we need it the most because now I may need to restore. So maybe the incident was so severe during the response stage, I may have noticed some data actually corrupted, which is now affecting business operations. So the business pain is I'm losing money, right? Which is not good. So I need to get operations back up as soon as possible to minimize that downtime because really it's starting to get into the reputational damage. So backing up isn't just the simple element of, a quick time restore. As a security manager, maybe I need to check that the data I want to back up isn't malicious. Okay. Was that previous backup compromised? Was the backup that I had that particular file which caused that breach? So I need to verify the integrity of the data and ensure I'm restoring from the correct version. So governance, the big change of a NIST cybersecurity framework. So here are the main changes, and I will help introduce them. So really, the changes are organizational context. So this is really focusing on the mission, the vision of the company, and what their goals are, and ensuring that they are understood and communicated to the team. We have risk management strategy. So what's the organization's appetite for risk? So how much do you want to be responsible for? All these factors need to be established and again communicated to the support risk decisions. Roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Who's responsible for doing what? There are lots of moving parts in this industry, right? So it should be clear and again communicated on who is responsible for that accountability. Policies, processes, and procedures. So policies do change. They change for a reason and a good reason. So these should be communicated and enforced to provide guidelines and rules to help protect sensitive data, mitigate risks, and ensuring a secure environment. Then we have oversight. So results. We all improve based on lessons learned, right? So with oversight, we are documenting, we are improving our risk management strategies by activities and performances of our current risk management to help strengthen our future. And then cybersecurity supply chain risk management, ensuring security for supply chain is established, as well as managed and continuously monitored to help improve stakeholders for the integrity, the authenticity, and the trustworthiness to help safeguard against potential threats. So the above are just brief introductions into the governance layer within the NIST cybersecurity framework. There are tons of resources which go far more in depth than this, but this should give you a good high-level understanding. So that was a lot of information. Now, hopefully we have got a good feeling with the cycle of the NIST and how that can bring all these pieces together. But I don't want to stop there. I want to help break it down even further. And again, to help with building that confidence within this cybersecurity framework, we can use the following analogy, which I and my colleagues do when we're explaining the NIST cybersecurity framework, is to compare it to a house or a home. So, when I do presentations, especially for someone who's net new into the NIST cybersecurity framework, doesn't understand the concepts, this is a great analogy for you to get a good feel of kind of comparing it to everyday things, right? So we talked about identifying risk, identifying what is worth protecting, right? So we have our electronics, our home, our family, our pets. And with our house, we have our doors, we have our windows, we have education. So we're letting, the kids in the house, hey, don't open the door for strangers. And then a continuous detection. So we may have motion sensors, we may have neighborhood watches, and response, we may have a particular guard dog if we're lucky. We could call 999. And then recovery, we have our home insurance. So something is broken, we want to make sure that we can get a new one or a replacement, going ahead and repaying for anything that's damaged. And then, for example, making sure that we lay down the rules of making sure things that can and can't happen within the house, ensuring that if we do purchase something, there are reviews done. We do the initial, for example, our due diligence into making sure that, hey, this is the correct, let's say, purchase, and there's nothing that someone else has complained about. And, you know, exactly what I would do if I was going to go purchase a new sofa. I'd look at the reviews of the particular seller, making sure that they are authentic. Now, let's compare this to a networking perspective, or should we say from a cybersecurity IT perspective. So we talked about family, pets, really with identify, it's the people, employee data, right? Critical assets, right? Servers. And then with protection, we may have our EDR. No one really uses antivirus, or no one should be using antivirus nowadays, and for many good reasons. And then so I'm going to be more pushing into the EDR element of that protection stage. We may have, again, security awareness training. With detection, we may have, again, our SIEM solution. Again, even the EDR, MDR functionality of that. Response, we talked about if we wanted to isolate a particular machine, we can do that with our MDR. We may have threat analysis, remediation, and rollback capabilities. Recovery, again, backup systems. Perhaps we have a cyber insurance plan that we could be able to utilize as well. And then governance, we want to make sure we have the leadership, we have the supply chain risk, we're documenting everything that happens. And that's it. 10 minutes for us to kind of have a decent introduction on the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0, kind of understand the different layers. And I do hope that this has been educational for anyone that doesn't know the NIST Cybersecurity Framework and now has left with more information that they feel a little bit more confident with having this conversation as well. So that's really all I have to be able to show today. So I really hope this has been informative, and I'd like to thank you for listening.